Hey y'all. How's everyone doing this morning? I was on this morning for a little bit talking about Wicked because it was still on my mind. It was such a great movie. But I know that there's been other things that have happened recently that I haven't had a chance to really talk about. I know that Nicola was at a concert and Luke was with his castmates, and those photos came out, and just didn't know what if there was anything new or thoughts around those things at all that I'm missing. I mean, again, like, there's not much going on these days, so that's why, like, folks might be like, why are you not talking about these things anymore? It's just like nothing's really happening, and so there's not much to talk about necessarily. But I am happy to see Luke with his castmates, and also really happy that Nicola seems to be just having a grand old time. Hey, Jody. But did folks who are in the chat right now see what I'm talking about? Do y'all have the same reference points? Did you see the pictures of Luke with his castmates and Nicola at the concert? Roseanne said yes. Any initial thoughts when you saw either things? Any original? Yeah, Jody said, yeah, both looked happy. Yeah, I'm just really glad that Luke has a new project. You know, I think that's something that we were all rooting for, that he would have a new project available to him. And I'm really excited to see what Luke does with this. And frankly, even the way the cast, like, they take pictures with the cast, I love how, I mean, I don't know if this is intentional or whatsoever, but, you know, like I said, who knows if anybody would ever ship Luke with Lucy, you know, depending on what this movie is about. But it's kind of funny because a lot of the group photos that they're taking, Luke is not like Luke is never next to Lucy. So I'm like, I don't know if that's just an intentional choice or they just happen to not ever really stand next to each other. So people don't get the wrong idea or whatever. Turbo's mom said, yes, they look like they're out and having fun with friends. Roseanne said, hanging out with friends, and both looked happy. Yeah. So the ones I saw was castmates. I mean, I don't know, like, maybe they, like, I don't know, like, what the relationship is of Luke with his castmates yet. Like, I don't know how long they've been filming. And I'm sorry, I'm like really distracted by, like, I think I have a bruise underneath my nostrils. But anyways, sorry. I'm just bringing that up from myself because I'm getting thrown off by it. Bridget GA said, Lucy's probably like, I know how your fans are. No thanks. I mean, I kind of feel like that was the case. Like, obviously, they could just be standing there the way they're standing there because that's just the most convenient or whatnot. But it was just kind of funny that there was never any pictures in that cast stuff where there were. I mean, the closest is like when he was kind of behind at one point, but it was just like, oh, maybe there is this intentionality of like, do not even get them started. Alex Few Can 40 said, hi, did you already talk about Wicked? Your reaction made me so happy. I did on a separate live. I talked about it. People weren't coming in, and so, I mean, not a lot of folks were coming in, so I just needed to feed off of other people's energy, and I was like, please talk to me about Wicked. But people weren't. Well, there was Jess came in, and Dee came in, and so that was nice. And was there somebody else? There was a Clover that came in. Trying to think if I'm forgetting anyone else that came in and actually engaged, which was great because it was such a phenomenal movie. I'm like still reeling from it. I went into that movie with no expectations whatsoever and was just, I left speechless. Cynthia made this movie for me. This movie would not be the same without Cynthia. Like, oh my word. I can't even put into words. Bridget GA said, I'm going to see Wicked today. Oh, you are so going to love it. Like, I was saying to Dee that I was like, sometimes when people hype up something, I worry that it's not going to live up to the hype for people. But I said to D, because D's going to go see it, I said, I don't worry about that, because I literally went into this movie with zero expectations and walked out like in utter, like, I don't even know how to put it into words. And here's the thing, even if people hyped it up for me prior to going in, and I think kind of maybe people said it was good, I don't think I realized how good it was going to be until I was actually there. And for me, it really was when Cynthia came in. Because the one thing that I would say about the whole thing is with the movie was, and this is not a knock on Ariana. She is a great singer, and she did a great job in this movie. It's just that the first song, I had no idea what she was singing. Like, I need to find the lyrics of the first song because I couldn't understand what she was saying. So I loved Ariana the best when she was singing with other people, because her harmony with other people is beautiful. But sometimes there were times when she would have solos where I would miss certain words. Like, she didn't enunciate them strong enough for me to understand what she was saying. That's the only minus, but her voice is beautiful, obviously. Jen said, I'm getting ready to go see Wicked today. You're going to love it, Jen. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any details I missed the first go around. Oh, you've seen it already. I've heard of people doing the same thing. Alux Few Canna 40 said, I feel the exact same. I was anticipating it for years and thought it could never live up, but it did. Absolutely. So folks that were looking forward to it, and it lived up to it. But yeah, so going back real quick to the whole thing with Luke and Nicola, it seemed like a very big cast for Luke. I mean, I don't know if it's a big cast. I guess he has a bigger cast in Bridgerton, but there seemed to be a lot of people in the photo. But I'm glad to have seen Luke with castmates. Hopefully he is making some friendships with them. I did find it amusing that they wanted to make sure nobody would start getting any ideas by making sure that they were not anywhere close to standing next to each other. Well, that's not true. I wouldn't say they were nowhere close to standing next to each other, him and Lucy. But I do think there is that consciousness that about about it all to some degree. I don't know if there is or not. Maybe I'm just thinking that. And then the other one was obviously with Nicola. So I saw, the first one I saw, hey Aaron S.A., how am I doing? I'm doing okay. My dad's still in the hospital. It's based off of paperwork. He has lost a lot of weight, though, I will say. But, and he's not as hungry as he used to be. But we're waiting for the paperwork to happen so he could get discharged, so he could be at home, and we could do at-home hospice. He's been in the hospital for like over a week now, and so we'd like to have him back. Soon. So hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, like hopefully not that late. Like literally would love him to be like here today. Hopefully hopefully by today. But anyways, what was I saying? So with Nicola, thank you, Alexa, for you, Canna, for sending hugs, Phoebe. Thank you, I appreciate that. So with Nicola, it was the ones I saw was the picture that she shared. And one of the things I always say, hello, K-girl. One of the things I always share. Aaron S.A. said, praying for your dad. Thank you, K-girl, for the daily heart me. One of the things I always say is I don't typically post anything on my, I try to at least not to, post anything that isn't straight from like Nicola's page, right? And so she chose to repost a picture of her and her friend. And I forgot how she's friends with her. Can people remind me? Dan said, L&N matched even from afar. Was it a Lux View Canna 4D said Barbie? Oh, the person? Okay. Dan, is it like, I think they were just both wearing dark clothes. Is that what you mean? Like dark outfits? Black outfits, I think. Oh, Dan said leather. Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize what the material was. But yeah, so Nicola chose to reshare a post from her friend. And obviously the first thing, Erin S.A. said her leather outfit, agreed with Dan. Just commented on, oh, okay, so yeah, so people immediately, the first thing that they noticed was Jake was in the background of the photo. So she reshared the post of her and her friend, and it happened to have Jake in the background. So then obviously, Nicola choosing to repost that, knowing that people already assume things with Jake, you know, I don't know if that's like her closest way of acknowledging and being like, I'm just gonna be living my life. Oh my word, okay, I'm getting distracted. But yeah, so I don't know about that. Maybe that was kind of like, this is just, that's why I ended up writing the song that I did, that I put on my post, right? Called Safe Harbor. Dan said that was a hard launch for sure. Dee says she had always said don't believe unless it comes from her. Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, I don't know if having somebody in the background I would ever consider like that necessarily, but it definitely is a statement of like, I'm not hiding that this person's in my life. Aaron S.A. says, for me, they're just a good friend. I mean, and I don't think it has to be like a one or the other, right? A person can, I mean, hopefully whoever someone's potentially with is a good friend, right? You wouldn't want them to not be a good friend. They should not be in your life if they're not a good friend. In the same way that I would say Luke is a good friend, and which is why I think they could be, like, there's so many things about them that could be endgame if they wanted to. Dan says she doesn't do anything without reason. Sarah Lover Girl said he's a constant person she likes to have around. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where this was her first, like, Nicola's so aware of the conversation that if she didn't want the conversation to continue, as much as she loves her friend and is excited for her friend to be there, I don't think she would have chosen to repost that. The act of like reposting that to me felt more like, I'm so tired of walking around not having to fully acknowledge this person in my life. I'm gonna repost this, and it's not like an obscene level of showing him, but it is still saying he's there, you know, lurking. Not lurking, but like, because it's literally in the background. And I think that's like poetic almost. It's a poetic choice to show him in the background, because that's kind of what it's always been since the conversation around Jake has happened, right? That he's been in the background, not that she's not hidden him, but this is like the first full like willingness to go, I know all the conversation and still I'm gonna repost this, where it's obvious that he's here, even if it's among friends, right? And here's the thing, there were 2 videos I ended up seeing that I would never repost, simply because I mean, I appreciate I guess I appreciate it to some degree, like, it's out there, right? So I can't, it's so hard, right? So I'm like, I don't know. Every time I stumble onto something, I'm like, was I supposed to see this or not? Because the only thing I knew for sure that she wanted to show us was, well, that's not true, because the other one was from her friend. So one was from her friend for sure. So the one from her friend, I think it was from her friend. Yes, it was from her friend, because it said Luke Feathers. Is that right? Sarah Lover Girl said, I'm good, happy to join the live with you all. And then Dee says she gave her permission on that one. Yeah. You mean with Luke Feathers? Putting that one up, or are you talking about? Yeah, probably. I mean, so that one, she is with, is Luke Feathers the guy on one of her side? Because I don't know who Luke Feathers is. I don't think that's Luke Feathers though, right? Yeah, the video of them dancing and singing was Luke Feathers' story. But that the guy in the video that's standing next to Nicola is not Luke Feathers, right? Like the guy with the sunglasses who has oh, okay, Alux Buchanan 40 said Dylan, something is the other guy. Okay. Everybody's saying Dylan. Okay. So yeah, so Dylan, her, and Jake are, so she's sandwiched between the two of them. And that seemed like fun, friend, innocent enough. Nick Shiz said Dylan Brady. Okay. I mean, that seemed like regular, like fun, communal friend things of just having a lot of fun. I think for me, the thing that, again, brings home a lot of, like, more of the moments are the things that people capture that were not, like, given permission, right? So the other video that I did see probably wasn't given permission because I think the person was, like, 4 rows back. Because I think that's what they say. They were 4 rows back from where Nicola was sitting. And it's a clip of her talking to Jake. And I mean, I don't know. Like, and we've seen multiple videos or pictures of those things where it's like there's just an intimacy there. There just really is. And I always say, consider if it was someone else. Consider if it was Luke, people would be freaking out if they saw that video that was taken 4 rows back. There is just, so it's just one of those things where I know, like to me, it doesn't change what I believe can happen for Luke and her if they want to. But again, the thing that I always say is, like, don't want to be so committed to a narrative or a belief that something's going to happen, that I can't allow people to grow. Because, you know, if Luke and Nicola just continue to grow and change separately from each other, even if they could have been endgame or could still be endgame now, it's like, it's okay if it's not. Because you don't want to keep people captured in a moment and say that's all you can be and that's all you can stay as. Like, people grow, people change. They're not a character. They're real people. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the future will be for either of them. But, and I've seen enough stories where people go their separate ways only to come back together in the future. But I'm fairly like comfortable, acknowledging that there's, to me, there is something there, somehow. Sarah Lover Girl says Luke is also in her life, just more in private because of the mayhem it will cause. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, that's always been true, where I feel like they have had, I mean, and Luke is just here's the funny thing, right? People always told me that Nicola is way more private than Luke. And I have found that Luke is way more private than Nicola. Like, I feel. Like, so I didn't know, like, where the narrative came from that Luke wasn't private. But I think it was, actually, no, I know. Hold on, let me put my gingerbread for a second because I need to unplug something. So I just think that the reason people thought that Nicola is more private is because before, things weren't really captured, but she didn't have okay, let's see. Alux Few Can 40 said, I think that's new. Actually, you know what? You're right. I think people told me that before, he used to post a lot of things on his Instagram before he made it like work related. And maybe he made that decision after Jade. Maybe after how Jade was treated at the tail end of the relationship, he didn't want to put a person through the same thing again. Sarah Lover Girl said Luke seems more private now since season 3. He said, "OMG, that gingerbread is hilarious." I wish Marie Constantine was around. Marie loved that. Alux Fucana 40 said, "I think the cyberbullying with Jade and their breakup changed how he looked at social media." I agree. That's probably what changed it for him. Which is kind of interesting because now it's like, there's just, I feel like most people want private relationships, but not secret ones. I think that's when people, like, I always think about Tom Daya whenever I think about, like, the best example of a private relationship that isn't secret. Because I think it's frustrating for people to feel like they can't acknowledge their significant other. They don't want to make them like center of everything, because that does take away from their own accomplishments and from their own purpose of like them pursuing their careers and things of that nature. But at the same time, it's like, it sucks to not be able to like to celebrate certain things with them, So I don't know if even Nicola's choice of reposting that particular picture was a way of her saying like, it's private, but it's not secret, CRM8291 said, "I would be frustrated just because I love to share. I'm happy." Exactly. Like, I think people just want to be able to freely share their happiness, without feeling like they have to censor themselves because they're so afraid of people getting mad at them or backlashing at them and things of that nature. Sarah Porter 213 said, "What picture did she repost?" She reposted a picture from a concert that she had with her friend, and in the background was Jake. And so, I mean, obviously, if Jake wasn't part of the conversation so much, that repost would not necessarily make people think, oh, Jake, it had to mean anything if it was like there was no conversation about Jake. But because Nicola is so aware of the pulse of the conversations, typically, she's well more aware than people give. Well, that's not true. People give her a lot of credit for always tending to know what's going on. So it did feel very intentional, because if she was worried about people perceiving or misunderstanding his presence in the background of that photo, she would never reposted it. Sarah Porter 213 said, "Did you see Doug's post yesterday on his IG story?" No, Sarah. What was it? And who's Doug again? Is this one of the people in her friend group? So yeah, I don't know. I just hope that people are being kind to her, because I heard that I saw a post that gave me the impression that people weren't being kind to her, and were saying mean things. And I'm like, this is the reason why I really worried for Nicola when people put her up on a pedestal, because I'm like, don't put her up on a pedestal, because it inevitably somebody is going to find. I think actually somebody's post said exactly that. It's like they build you up just to tear you down. Nikki said, "What are they saying?" I don't know what they're saying, because I haven't seen it. I mean, I'm so out of the loop, to be honest. Like, with everything personal that's going on, I haven't like been out and about looking at things. But I just saw someone post something about it, and it just made me sad if that's the case, if people are being mean to Nicola, but I don't know what the conversation is being had. I mean, I understand people will have opinions. I mean, I guess the fact that I'm having a conversation is all about opinions, but I just hope people are being kind, because people are just trying to live. It's hard enough to like it's hard enough already, just living. You just wish you could just live unbothered, you know. But she does look unbothered. She does look like she's having the best time. She looks like she's having a lot of fun. Now, mind you, I will say, though, now that I think about the one about, oh, I forgot I have my Sinus Ninja appointment this morning. I'm glad they sent that reminder. Ooh-wee. Okay, okay, that's a good reminder. Sarah Porter 213 said, I've seen that there are already Luke and Lucy shippers. Sarah Porter, I was just actually talking about how I found it funny that the castmate pictures that Luke we've seen with Luke, there seems to be very much an intentionality not to have them stand together. I think simply because I think that they're aware that people are going to try to ship them, even without seeing any content to make them think that. Thank you, Ronnie, for the daily heart me. CRM8291 said, I think opinions are one thing, but the name calling, I think, goes to a new level, in my opinion. So, CRM8291, have you been seeing name calling happening right now? T says she has so many wonderful accolades. We need to celebrate that. Kundi Brisbane, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. If you don't mean the standards, they're villains. They're villains. I'm sorry, it cut off. LJFIDDES said, some people have got nothing better to do. Nikki said, I don't see it with Luke and his new co-star. Oh, well, I mean, it's hard to see it when we haven't seen the show, right? And the fact that, again, I think there has been an intentionality not to have them stand together. I don't know if it's an intentionality more than I noticed that they don't stand together in any of the photos. CRM8291 said, not in here, but on posts and other videos. Ronnie said, I didn't see you were on because I was watching a podcast about fandom cults. How relevant. Oh, wait, you spaced that out. Did TikTok, like, mute it the first time or something? Is that... Because are they being mean to you again, Ronnie? Nikki said, I'm sure they will be great in the film. Oh, I don't doubt it. I think they will be great in the film. I don't even know if they're going to be love interests in the film. I mean, I get people assuming that simply because, you know, that's... Ronnie said, I'm not taking chances at this point, Phoebe, LOL. Dee says, sorry, but I need to go. Sending hugs to you and your family. Thanks, Dee. Have a good day. But yeah, no, I think that, you know, I just want them to be happy. That's all I really want. I just want them to be happy. And I think, personally for me, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect my life who they're dating, if they're dating anybody. I'm still wondering if Luke, I mean, I guess there's segments of times where it looks like Luke may still be in Antonia's life because there's still stuff that's happening. But I think it really did get quiet it's been quiet for a really long time. But then I guess maybe that's not true. It's just because I have her blocked that I may not know. Maybe there are still things going on, but I live blissfully unaware. Ronnie said, I want them to be happy and people to stop being irrational. I mean, Ronnie said, but alas, waves of reality. I mean, I think there's a line, Ronnie, really, where it's like, I think there's nothing wrong with, like, and I know that this is not what you're talking about. But then if I know this is not what you're talking about, why bring it up? Okay, well then, it's just a sub point that made me think about, for some reason, your statement made me think about, right? It's like, I think there's a difference between hope for what could be and when things become too, like, I think we need to ask ourselves. Okay, Ronnie said yes, that. Yeah, I think we need to ask ourselves, like, is it okay to, like, I think it's okay to have hope. And I still have hope. I'm still an endgame Nicola shipper, right? And at the same time, it's also okay to not be so beholden to a narrative to say like it cannot be because and because of X, Y, and Z. And a part of me wonders like what foundation is shaken really if either people are in those said relationships. Like why, like what is it about acknowledging the potential of that reality? Why does it, what is it shaking in people's lives? Like why is it hard to consider? And the only reason I'm throwing that out is if I put Luke in any of the situations, I have seen Jake in with Nicola, that would be enough for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think the majority of folks who keep insisting that the things that we're seeing between her and Jake is not enough for them, if it was Luke in that same situation, it would be enough. It would be more than enough to make people know like there's something going on between like these folks. Nikki said it's N and L's chemistry that I haven't seen with the people they're with. Okay. Is it Nikki, is it well, okay, let me think about that. I mean, actually, could you expound on that, Nikki? Like, what do you think? Like, I can agree with Luke and Antonia because I never saw any chemistry between those two. Like, to the same level that he had with Nicola. I will agree with that because I just never have. Now, mind you, I don't know what they're like privately, so they may be having all the chemistry privately, but like, what they've ever shown publicly, I've never seen it. I've never seen the chemistry. But everybody has different kinds of connections, I guess, with people. Versus Nicola is so hard. Nicola has such a high, like, baseline. She has chemistry with so many people that is really hard to know, like, what differentiates how Nicola engages with someone. It really is sometimes hard, right? I mean, I remember seeing a picture with her and Luke Thompson where I was like, if I didn't know better, that looked really intimate too. So I can understand, like, people who come back and say, like, well, we've seen Nicola look very intimate with many people, and they've all been friends, which actually is a very valid point. I think it's just the amount of times she's with him. I think also, like, it just tends to add up that, yeah, she's always with him. Even if people say she's always with him with a friend group, that's not true. We've seen her alone with him, but we've also seen her with him in friend groups, and yet those friend groups may be changing who's there in those pictures, but like he's the constant. You know what I mean? Noel says, to me, it's just a puzzle that needs to be solved. I don't care who they are with. Ronnie said, yes, I still have hope, but people have lost the plot. I don't feel comfortable expressing that hope. I hear that. I mean, yeah. And I recognize that me even saying what I'm saying right now, like, for some folks, is like, how can you say that? You must not be on the ship anymore. You must not be a Lucilla. And I know I lost people because people had that impression that I must have jumped ship. I'm no longer a Lucilla shipper because I'm acknowledging the existence that I tend to go, if I saw Nicola doing any of these things with Luke, I'd be like, hooray, hooray. You know what I mean? So why would I have a different standard for someone else simply because it's not Luke? Like to me, those actions say a lot. Now, at the same time, it's still an assumption. And I still have to own that. It's still an assumption. I still could be wrong. That's the thing, though. I could still be wrong. Because even though it feels like 1 + 1 = 2, I mean, there could be a curveball, you know. I just feel like the evidence is stacking against, stacking towards what I think it is. At the same time, I'm like, without full access to what's really going on, it is just narrative. CRM8291 said, right, as they are living normally, the stuff we saw on World Tour videos that were moments in time. So I think it's hard to think of how people live normally. Con said, I can honestly say that I have lost any feeling as to who they are with. Nikki said, Luke seems to be more attentive to her. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, from what I've seen, Nikki, I agree with that. But then again, Antonia's has been blocked for a really long time, so I don't see her stuff. But from what I recall, the agreement, I mean, I'm not saying there's an agreement because I don't know if there's an agreement or not, but I think from what I recall, like, she doesn't post straight out things with him in it. So I want to be able to know how attentive he is to her, because he doesn't post her, she doesn't post him explicitly. The only things that we had ever seen were things that were quote unquote captured as paparazzi, but that got kiboshed very quickly. Eventually got kiboshed, right? And we have not heard really anything. We've never seen anything. It's not only from Antonia, but the two other people that I blocked that I don't recall their name, don't want to recall their name, but they were blocked for a reason, along with Antonia. So I think nothing has been coming out of their things as well. So because there's not anything to really see, it's hard to compare. But what I have seen, I agree with that. Ronnie said we haven't seen them privately. Deep breath. Yeah, it's true. We haven't seen them privately. Ronnie said, I just erased a paragraph. You can talk more calmly. LOL. Sarah Lover Girl said, it's all assumed. Ronnie said, I feel even expressing the hope now is feeding extremely unhealthy behaviors. Yeah, I mean, it's really a hard balancing act, Ronnie, because it's like, how do I describe myself? Like, I am an endgame Nicola shipper that is feeling like I need to just acknowledge the moment for what it is, and yet at the same time, I also, as an endgame Nicola shipper, it's the analogy, Ronnie, that I've said every single live recently, right? Where I'm like, I don't want to have a How I Met Your Mother commitment. I want a Dawson's Creek commitment to the ending of people's storyline. Meaning, I don't want to be so committed to a particular storyline that I don't let myself recognize how people grow and change. And the reality is, if Luke and Nicola find their way back to each other, I'm more than excited for that, because I've always believed that they can be endgame. I've always believed that. However, if they don't find their way back to each other, let that be so. Because it's like, why shackle people or put people in a box and say you can only be this? Like, and I think this is why people have always said, like, it's okay to ship characters because they are within a contained world. But it's hard to ship real people only because real people are real people. So, and it's one thing to want people to end up together, because I've had friends that I've wanted to end up together, right? So I ship certain friends together. But it's another thing to be like, you cannot live outside of this box that I've created for you. You must stay within this box. And if you don't, we will make it difficult for you. You know, and I think that's what I feel bad for both Luke and Nicola. It's like that box is so restricting to say we've committed to this idea that this is the only ending that we're okay with, that if you at all move away from that, we will make your life miserable. I don't like that. Sarah Lover Girl said, we don't know, their camps are all private to the actual facts on the relationships. Jude says, why are they never seen together if they are best friends? Well, I don't know how. I will say this, Jude. My best friend and I barely spend any time with each other. But when we do, it's like no time has passed. So I will say there's different levels of best friends. And I will say that my level of best friends with my best friend, who I barely see or barely talk to, is unmatched. That's like a very, very deep connection, because I think there's folks that don't trust their friendship enough to have any distance. Like, they feel like if they have distance from a friend, they have lost that friendship. When you have a friendship that is so deep that you don't need to constantly be in contact with each other to know that you still have each other and you still have each other's back, like, that is a friendship that you can't put money on. Like, it's so precious, it's so rare. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the friendship that Luke and Nicola have, because I don't know, but I do know that it is very possible to barely or never see people together. Like, my best friend hates photos. Absolutely hates photos. She will not let me ever post, ever post a picture with her. If I ever post a picture, well, first and foremost, I don't, because I respect the fact that she never ever wants her photo. But sometimes I like put like an emoji in front of her face or something, if I ever do. But I don't even take photos. We do not take photos. So I do think there are friendships like that. You don't have to be even a celebrity. Somebody has to, just a friendship that just like, don't take my photo, don't put it on social media. My closest friendship, I don't tend to like their posts because I'm living life with them. I'm out and about with them. So that to me is not necessarily like, oh my word, they're never seen together, they must not be best friends. I have personal experience to go, I get it. Because I have best friends where it's like, we're not posting pictures of each other, we're not talking about each other. Like, I mean, I might talk about her, but she just doesn't like having a digital footprint. I've known her since she was super young, so it's not like she has a secret life that she's trying to hide or anything. In case people are just thinking that, I've known her since she was like 10 years old. So it's just the way she is. She just hates social media, right? And so I think that Luke has made decisions, Nicola has made decisions, that it's not that they've not been together or have not seen each other. It's just you're not seeing it because that's a decision that they've made. Flossom Shrod says, hey y'all, what we discussing today? We are discussing Luke and Nicola. Overall. Ronnie said, in my Elmo Fire GIF era, I hope random videos of people making out comes out, so I don't care who comes out, so people can people get a grip of reality and some people lose their narrative. Ronnie! Wow, it's gotten to this point for you, huh, Ronnie? You know, remember the joke that I made, Ronnie, about how even if people saw them kissing or somebody kissing somebody, that people would be like, what a good friend, you know? She fell and he caught her with his lips. You know, I don't know. I don't know sometimes, Ronnie. If people are committed to something, it's very hard to consider something else. It really is. It's called the backfire effect. And the backfire effect says that if you give people more evidence showing that they are potentially incorrect about something, they will double down more. And And I always say, like, if I get to a place where I feel the need to double down on something, then that really means, like, I'm really hyper, like I am so committed. Like, I'm so committed. I'm afraid. Like, there's something else that's that's motivated. Like, if we can't consider that the possibility, it's like, but what? But why? Why can't we consider the possibility? You can still be a Luca shipper, and still acknowledge the possibility that these dynamics exist, right? I don't think, I guess for me, I don't think it sacrifices anything. I do think it might sacrifice something if people are committed. I think maybe it's easier for me as an endgame Luca shipper, because my narrative means that they're not necessarily together now, but they can be together in the future. But if people are not endgame Luca shippers, but they're right now Luca shippers, meaning like they believe that Nicola and Luke are in a relationship now, this might be a harder ask, Ronnie, what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're an endgame Luca shipper, this is easier. Because you're like, this doesn't affect anything. This is not endgame. This is not the end, right? But if you're not an endgame Luca shipper and you're a right now Luca shipper where you're like, no, they're together right now, this might be a hard thing. And this might be the reason why there's a pushback if you believe they're currently together. You know what I mean? Nikki said, I see N and J together. They have a great time, but it seems like she's more adoringly than he does. I don't know what his baseline is, Nikki, but I will agree with you. I do think she looks at him adoringly. Like, there is the reason I feel like it is different for Nicola with Jake is simply because there was this look that she, I don't want to say this because it's going to get people like, well, I mean, it is what it is. I'll probably leave this live and I'm like down a few, but it is this reality of like, when I finally decided that I thought that there was something going on between Luke and Nicola was in Brazil, because there was this moment in the red carpet, and well, not just a moment, there were moments within the red carpet, and she looked up at him, and it was like, I can't describe when somebody has like this little sparkle in their eyes when they're looking at the person that they care about, but like that's what she had in her eyes when she was looking at him, you know. And I had never seen it before, and I was like, oh. And because she had such a high baseline, like anything that I thought was flirtatious during the world tour, I just chalked up to Nicola being Nicola, right? But it was in Brazil when I saw that look in her eyes where I was like, oh, that's different. That's different. And there's moments in the closeness and the touch that she does with Jake where I'm like, that's an intimacy that I don't see very often. Or I mean, with her. So I feel like it does break her baseline, how she engages with Jake. But as of how Jake engages with her, I really don't know, because he doesn't seem, I don't know what his baseline is. Kita said, look, me and my friend are like this because we live in different states. Yeah. Ronnie said, yep, it's gotten ridiculously rigid, and for why? Other people's lives are write your own adventure book. LOL. Kita said, I barely take photos. Yeah. Nikki says, they have said they are very low maintenance together. Yeah. Yeah. Kita said, with my friends. Yeah. I mean, there are times where I hang out with my friends and I literally like forget to take photos. Like, there's times where we're like, oh, we should have taken a photo. That's how much we're in the moment. We're not thinking about like, oh, let's get this and post this. Like, we're like living it, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should have gotten a photo, and we're like, oh, we forgot to take a photo again. Like, we do that a lot. Shelly says they may just be best friends on set. Possibly. I mean, we see how much Luke likes, like when you do behind the scenes, you see how often Luke is wherever she's at. Like he there's magnetic. And people always said that there was always just that closeness between Luke and Nicola. Again, I don't know if I think that they're just best friends on set. I do think there's just different kinds of best friends, and I do think that there is a friendship that extends outside of work for them. And I do think there is a closeness to that, but it is a different kind. It's just a different kind of friendship. Now, if you any of you watch Dancing with the Stars, there's Ilona. I think her name's Ilona and Alan. There were things that Ilona and Alan said that pretty much are the same things that that Luke and Nicola would say in the world tour. Like for example, when Ilona talks about like, oh, it's going to be very hard to see you next season with a new partner, you know. And and Nicola said that about like, it's going to be hard to see you with the next co-star where like your next love interest, because all of that stuff. But there's moments where it's like there's certain things that people say, and Ilona and Alan are just friends, and I know a lot of people are shipping them, but I believe Alan is dating another person, like Emma, I think is who he's dating. It's what I've heard. But people were rooting for them to be together. But sometimes there's just that immense closeness. And I one thing I will never take away from Luke and Nicola is there is a definite closeness between those two. That, like when I say like people did not make it up, they didn't pretend to see something they didn't see. Like people saw what they saw. I think that sometimes when things start to change and life continues and there's not an opportunity to kind of invest in like the moment that people witnessed, you know, people start to go, oh, like, were we making it up? Was that not? No, everything people saw, we saw. And so I definitely think that's always there and that's always been there. But they also have very, you know, different paths right now, different ways that they're going about life. Karen said, cutest pic of Nick in her leather outfit at the concert. Glad to see her out having fun. Yeah, she looked like she was having a lot of fun. Ronnie said, yep, I remember. I know. Look at our politics. LOL. Wait a minute. I forgot what I was talking about, Ronnie. Ronnie, to know the context of that statement now. Okay, Nikki said, just because a person is with the person they are with now doesn't mean I'll be with him later. Exactly. That's why I'm saying, like, I think what's happening right now, or what I think is happening right now, or what I'm assuming is happening right now, is easier for me to take as an endgame Luca shipper. But if you're a right now Luca shipper, like they're dating right now, I think this stuff is much harder to take, right? So I think I have to remember the difference. Endgame Luca shippers probably are taking this with stride because we know that somebody can be with somebody and then they might not be with somebody later on. Like, people live and grow and change, and that's kind of the way it is. But if you're like, no, they're together right now, this might be a harder pill to swallow. Shallots for Life says, anything can be a possibility because we all don't know. Hold space for being wrong. 100%. Yeah. Because, like, to me, it's like, the hard part is that Nicola has such a high baseline. The only thing that makes it feel like it is what it is right now with her and Jake is simply because he's constantly there. At the same time, Antonia was constantly with Luke, and I had excuses for why I didn't think that was serious, right? But it's not apples to apples. I mean, like, they're very, like, it's not the same thing. There are different nuances with both potential relationships that's why it is what it is. Flossom Shrod said, doesn't bother me because I'm an endgamer, but people refusing to accept another narrative right now is Delulu. I mean, and here's the thing though, I mean, Flossom Shrods, I hear you, and I will say that I remember at the thick of it when I was like, when there was still things to talk about and everything was fresh. I know a lot of people thought, like, would say, like, you're Delulu. And it's like, you know, it's hard because sometimes what it is like, is the question of, like, what do we focus our attention on? Like, sometimes, for example, I love football, right? And there's football analysts. And people always love to talk as if analysts are providing objective analysis of football. They're not. Rarely are analysts objective, right? There are so much data out there that can push different narratives. And as a big Russell Wilson fan, I have seen how people have manipulated data, both negative and positive, against Russ, right? It really just depends on what people want to look at and what people want to nitpick at, right? So an analyst can bring up certain data and say, like, he sucks because this. Another one can bring up, like, no, he's great because of this. It matters what you're looking at, what you're bringing to the forefront. And so I think when people bring up certain evidence of what why they think what they think, people bring counter narratives or counter evidence and say, well, there's another way to look at it. So, I mean, I think it's always important to go, like, there could be another way to understand this. The hard part is there isn't anyone confirming which understanding is correct. And maybe both, like, the main narratives or the main understandings are both incorrect in their own way. We don't know, right? And I think that's the hard part when people... The reason why a lot of speculation continues is because without any concrete answer, people will fill in the gaps. And depending on what narrative people sit on, they're going to fill in the gaps how they want to fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? And sometimes not even how they want to, because, like, frankly, the way I'm filling in the gaps, like, is ending in a way that I don't personally want. Because I would prefer to believe that Luke and... Well, I'm still not sure what's happening with Luke, to be honest. But at least with Nicola, I feel like she is with Jake. You know what I mean? And the only reason I said I don't know what's happening with Luke and Antonia right now is because I genuinely don't know. Like, I've always... Like, because it's been so quiet, which was so different from the beginning. So I don't know if, like, that's... Or maybe it's not. I don't know, because, again, she's blocked. So I have no idea if maybe it's still the same amount of noise as before. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm not rooting for either of them to be with either of these individuals. But the things that I'm seeing, it's like I have to make space for that, because it feels like that's what's happening over here with Nicola. But I can understand if people are coming and saying that they're interpreting those moments differently. The only counter I have to that is, if this was Luke that you were looking at and not Jake, would you be saying the same thing? And if you would find yourself bending over backwards to explain why you would see it differently if it was Luke rather than Jake, then maybe deep inside you know that you're trying to avoid seeing certain things that are there, because it's not Luke, you know? Nikki said that's a great way of putting it. Luke and Nicola sparkle together. Vicky, Viceroy Vicky said, yes, Ilona and Alan mimic Luke and Nick so much to me. 100%. There were certain words where it did make me feel like, did people take notes of what happened with Luke and Nicola and say to their people, hey, you know, say these kind of things. But at the same time, I do think that came very... but then I think about it, and no, I don't think that's what happens. I think what happened is, when you are in an intense environment like Dancing with the Stars, you're gonna naturally end up feeling very close to your partner. In the same way that I feel like Luke and Nicola doing that filming intensely, only being with each other for 8 months, or at least that's how Luke said it. It was just the two of us. Obviously, they filmed with other people. But for Luke, what he remembered is just the two of us, kind of thing, right? And then the 6 months together. You can't have that intensity of experience and not feel something. Alexis says their friendship is so rare. I agree. Cindy said, my opinion, I think Luke and Nicola are together. I feel fine stating it and don't care. I mean, Cindy, I'm glad you feel fine stating it and don't care, because I wouldn't want you to feel like you had to mute yourself or not say that's how you feel. I mean, hopefully I've created a space for people to feel like they can say what they feel in this space. CRM 8291 said yes, and very close sitters and many other similarities. You can tell Ilona and Alan will be friends for life. Yeah, I think they will be friends for life. I think he really, really, really appreciates her. Like, I think she did open up a lot of things in his life for her. I mean, like, for him. Like I don't think he's had a connection with any other dance partner the way he's had. I mean, like, as a celebrity he's been paired with, until Ilona. Cindy said being old is fun because you stop worrying about others' opinion. I mean, it is a beautiful thing to not care what other people think. Cindy said, I don't find it hard because this is her friend group. Sammy D said, just got here. Has something new happened since the concert? No. Tammy Morgan said, I meant they cannot post pics together. Tammy Morgan said, I meant they cannot post pics together. Oh, I must have missed something earlier. Cindy said, keep it fun and light, nothing more. Yeah. Karen said, love seeing Luke smiling and laughing with his White Mars colleagues. Cindy said, both have very intimate touching, so come on it happens. Oh, you mean, are you talking about, Cindy, on that one, were you talking about Ilona and Alan? Or were you talking about something else? Cause I would say that Nicola's very touchy. Because when you said both, I was trying to think, who's both? Because I don't think Luke is naturally touchy. But so it must be Ilona and Alan, I'm guessing, is what you're talking about. Ronnie said peeps would be losing their minds with glee if it was Luke with her at all times and not finding excuses. 100%. I mean, that's why I always go, okay, consider the opposite. If I'm having a hard time, consider the opposite. Like, what if this was Luke? Would I be like bending myself backwards to convince myself of another reasoning for what I'm seeing? You know what I mean? L Wall 20 said, I love that you made the DWTS connection because there was a lot of romance lore this season. Yes, and I mean, the Sasha and Jen one is real. I mean, there's, like, they pretty much launched that. I mean, they spent Thanksgiving together. She's living with him. I mean, the thing that sold me about Jen and Sasha was literally when she was filming him driving, and her hand, they were holding hands on his thigh, on his leg. Like, it was at the highest level of where you could place your hand on someone's legs when they're, or someone's lap, you know what I'm saying? So it was very intimate. Like, that was like the first real, like, there's no way that Jen and Sasha are not together. Now, Sasha's very, like, quiet about it. I think Jen wants to be more upfront about it than Sasha is. That's why she always lets Sasha lead. When people ask the question, she's like, Sasha, take it away, or whatever. And then Sasha downplays it. I think the last time he answered, she seemed like a little bit more like, she didn't like how he answered it. But then, like, you see them constantly together again. You know, they did everything. They've been together since the whole whatever. So I think I didn't even realize anything was going on between Jen and Sasha until I started watching their stuff, and I was like, oh, you know. And people kept saying, oh, they're just friends. but like she's literally living with him now. And it cracks me up too because her brother just posted a TikTok because she put a post that says home is where your heart is, and it's a video of her brother going to her house looking for her, and he's like, must be a different home, I must be at the wrong house. And I was like, what a primo brother thing to do. I loved it. I thought it was so cute. Charlie said, I feel like Jake is outgoing like Nicola, and he is also supportive of her activism. Cindy said, yes. Nikki said, I'm so happy that we have something to look forward to seeing with Luke in the movies. Me too. I'm really looking forward to seeing something new from Luke, seeing his range and seeing what he can do. I'm really hoping he really is the villain. I'm hoping that he comes away looking like he's the good guy in this movie, and then the twist is he's the villain. Because he's always wanted to play the villain, and I would love that to be the case for him here. LWall20 said, yes, love Sasha and Jen. Jen R said, so what's everyone's consensus? The concert picks are friends or more than? I don't think there's a consensus, Jen R. I think there are people that believe they're friends, and there's people who believe they're more than that. I will say that the picture of the she reposted with him in the background, that doesn't have to mean anything except for the fact that I know, and I don't know, except for the fact that I believe, or I think, that Nicola's very aware of the conversation around her and Jake, and her choosing to repost that is an acknowledgement of his existence in her life. Now, mind you, it could be just because she really just wanted to post her friend from Barbie and said, I don't care that Jake has photobombed this photo, I'm still gonna share it. It could be that too. It doesn't have to be like, oh my word, this is like acknowledging his existence. It just happened to be, that's the photos that she took. He happened to be standing back there, and she's not gonna not repost it when she wants to repost her friend. That could be a possibility. The other one was the video with Luke from Luke Feathers, where they're just having fun. That I would also say friend level. The thing that makes me change my mind and consider it could be more is the one that I don't think was authorized or given permission to be posted, which was by somebody who was 4 rows back. And the intimacy in that clip between her and Jake talking. She's just again, the hard part with Nicola is she is a stand close to people talker. So it's so hard to know necessarily if it's different or not. But again, it's just, there's just too many moments of those capturing just the two of them having conversations. Now, mind you, the person did slow down, or at least the clip that I saw, it was a slowed down version of the interaction between her and Jake. And so that kind of stuff makes me wonder if it is to give the impression that it was longer or more intimate than it was. So that's the only thing that gives me pause about that 4th row video, is because there were moments where it looked like a very slowed down version. So if it's like, well, why do you need to slow it down necessarily? Unless it's kind of like, let me give you another football analogy, right? When you're watching football in real time, like certain things look different, right? Until you slow, like in replay, they slow it down. Well, no, but just because it looks like that slowed down, and obviously you're trying to make a right call and all that stuff, it doesn't change the fact of how it feels like in real time. It's very different. A replay of a football play versus how it plays out in real life in speed is very different, right? So for example, if somebody's like had a roughing the passer situation, it's like, well, okay, when was the ball released? When did the guy start running? I mean, there's so many factors. So the point being, the only thing that made me side eye the video that was 4 rows behind them was like the slowed downness of it. And I don't know if the reason they slowed it down was to, again, give the sense that it's more intimate than it was. Because there's a moment where the way her hand moves, where it's like, how would that have looked just in real time? Like, did it feel so, like, lingering, or was it more quick? You know, because that has a different feel. Jen R said, I love Sasha and Jen. Oh, Ronnie said, Phoebes, that video you sent me, that wasn't thigh. Yeah, well, I mean... Cindy said, running out to show property to a client. Have a great day. Go college football. Thanks, Cindy. Nikki said, I really want to binge watch Dancing with the Stars from first season to now. I will say I have never like consistently watched Dancing with the Stars. However, I will say that this is probably the season that I heard the most shipping. There's always been relationships that have come out with Dancing with the Stars, but I feel like this year was the most, where there were multiple people were rooting for to be together, like but like in a legitimate way, not like, oh, it's cute kind of thing, but like in a legitimate way they were rooting for it. Flossom Shrod says, have to go to work. Enjoy the rest of y'all Saturday. Thanks, Flossom Shrods. Jen R said, I can't wait to see Luke in the movies too. Hello, KM Shoppy. Jen R said, the hard part with Nicola is for sure that she gets so close to people. Yes, I agree. Popsy said, there was a video of them hugging, but it didn't seem overly romantic. Ronnie said, yep, there's no consensus, which is fine, but people should hold space for all possibility. Jen R said, yeah, I hug my guy friends like that sometimes, the side hug. Robbie said, it was probably loud in there too, so would need to be close to hear. That's another good point, Robbie. And that's the hard part. When I say literally, there are multiple possibilities as to why. Here's the thing, right? Things on like one-offs are like multiple explanations could be had for like one incident, right? I think the reason like I tend to believe that there is probably a relationship between her and Jake is not because of one thing, is the accumulation of multiple things on top of each other, where it's like, okay, I can find a potential answer for this thing or this thing or this thing or this thing or that thing, but like all together, to always think that there's a different reason than what people always say, what's sometimes the most obvious is really like usually the answer. Like, however, I make space for the other possibilities because there are other possibilities. Anybody who says there is only one way to interpret any interaction when you actually don't know what's happening, is probably committed to a specific narrative, right? Because there are usually, unless you know the details of the actual interaction, everybody's guessing. Shallots for Life says, someone who took a video of Nicola and Jake had no clue, said it seems like friends out is in her comments. Okay. Well, that's helpful, Shallots for Life. Had no clue. Had no clue said. So when you said had no clue, meaning like they didn't know Nicola and Jake? Because if they're taking a video of them, wouldn't they know who they are? Or was it an accident that like they just happened to be filming and it so happened to capture them? Because to me, it's hard to believe that somebody who's taking a video of them would not have a clue about who they were. So I just want clarification. Like, what did they not have a clue about? Isabel said, supposedly the person who took the video said it was not intimate at all. Okay, then why was it slowed down? Who chose to slow down that video? Because if it was not intimate at all, then they should have left it at real speed. So somebody chose to slow down that video. At least the one that I saw had a slowed down version. And I was like, why are they slowing down this video unless they're trying to make this moment feel more intimate than it was? So somebody may have taken that person's video, slowed it down, and that's the one that I happened to see. Because I didn't get to see the version where it's real speed. Karen said, you rock, Phoebe. Thanks, Karen. Jen R said, for all we know, she was chatting close with Luke Feathers or Dylan too and side hugged with them also. Possible. Chantal said, hey. Jen R said, it's just no one taped that. CRM8291 said, I think the hugging was the lights went down and felt they could, but also my opinion on a video. Okay, so that one I did not see. So, I mean, again, it's so hard, right? Like, literally, there was the whole thing that had happened with Nicola saying, like, normalize not filming people in, like, strangers in public. And yet, there's still, like, videos, and I still refer to them, right? So, I'm like, I mean, because it's hard. Once I see it, I can't unsee it, you know? But I'm definitely not pursuing it. Nikki says Zendaya was on Dancing with the Stars. Yes, I remember that. Stella said, I think that they are together too. Bessie Boo said, just because Nick and Luke are with other people right now doesn't mean they can't get together later. 100%. That's how I feel as an Endgame Nicola shipper. Chalice for Life says she knew Nicola was from Bridgerton, but not anything about relationships or the fandom. Oh, okay, interesting. So she knew Nicola from Bridgerton, but not anything about relationships or the fandom. Okay, so in the original video of it, Chalice for Life, do we hear this person talking at all? Like, I have a feeling I didn't see the video from the original source. Because the video I saw was definitely a slowed down version. Bessie Boo said, and it doesn't happen. We all have to respect that. Yeah, and if it doesn't happen, we all have to. Ronnie said, the rigid commitment is what burns my grits. LOL. Christine said, had no idea that was her boyfriend. She said, look like friends. Okay. Chalice for Life said, other people took the liberties to edit others' videos to post. Okay. RXCOXN3 said, he's going everywhere with her. It's more than friends. And I think that's the piece for me, RXCOXN3. It's like, if there's just one moment, that's easier to have a reason as to why. But when he is with her a lot, that's when it gets more difficult. Because to only think that is a friendship. Now, mind you, I did with my friend Chad and we were just friends. I mean, obviously, I felt more for him, but we were just friends, and we did a lot together. We did everything together, and so we would do things just the two of us a lot, and we were just still friends, and we would be with our friend group. You know what I mean? So it is possible to be with someone all the time and that person just be a friend. It really can be. I mean, I think it is possible. I've definitely had that life experience myself. But whether or not that's the case with her and him is another thing. Just because it is possible, I don't know if it's what's happening here. So I think that is for me. Like, I've seen pictures with her and him by themselves, and in multiple locations, right? And then also with friend groups, but the friend groups change, but the consistency is him. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I'm like, I can't wiggle away from that stuff. H. Manley said, no body touching by Nick to Jake, but always touching Luke, talking to him. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, H. Manley, only because I remember one of the first pictures I think that came out for them was at a festival. And I felt like there was touching. There was not only standing very close to each other. Again, it is every one of these places that they have is a loud venue, so it could be the reason there is that closeness is to talk loudly to them, because she's also short, so the volume needs to be more louder and closer because it has to travel further up. But I feel like there was intimacy and touch in those photos. Shallots for Life said the original creator commented on her own video in response to a question from another user. LSF0804 said, what is so confusing to me is their friends posting comment stories, etc. to combat the narrative. Okay, LSF0804, because I don't actually typically read all of these extra stuff. What are their friends commenting and saying in these things? I mean, I genuinely don't know, because that kind of stuff, friends know stuff, so that kind of stuff is important to hear. So what are they saying? KM Shoppy said, in my culture is not common. What's not common, KM Shoppy? Like guys and girls hanging out, chilling out, being friends? Is that what you mean? Nikki said, N and J are together. I don't think they will kiss in public because the fandom would go nuts. H. Manley said, I meant at this past concert. Oh, gotcha, H. Manley. Okay, M. Shoppy said yes. Okay. Do folks know what LSF0804 was saying? CRM8291 said, I just checked the video from the OG vid and I don't see her comment, but did say she cut the hug. Okay. With a covered mouth emoji. But folks, I would love to know what are their friends commenting. I have probably 23 more minutes, 22 more minutes before I gotta go. So I would love to know this information because I don't read it. Michelle MAD said, Doug posted with a comment that suggests that Jay would not be with Nicola. Okay, what was the comment, Michelle? CRM8291 said, when someone asked if longer, Shallots for Life said, I have a screenshot of the video creator comment. Shallots for Life's like, receipts. I got me my receipts. CRM8291 said the hug was longer, LOL. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so now this is productive to me. This is helpful. Shallots for Life said 100 feet. This is helpful, and again, this is the reason why people have different perspectives of the situation, because people might be looking at different things, have more. Ronnie said, "An actual receipts, not what was already interpreted." LOL. Yeah. So, and again, the person who was taking the video, also that's still their perception of that moment, right? Where it looked just like friends. And that is also just, like all of us, an opinion that people have. Either they're friends or they're more than friends. Either they're friends or they're more than friends. But it's like the only people that can answer that question is Jake and Nicola. Maybe they're friends. Valker L said, this is more productive than some of my work meetings and more fun. Michelle MAD said, but again, it's an interpretation of the post. Yes. I mean, that's the difficult part. Like, literally, the only people that can really confirm or deny are Nicola and Jake. And most likely that's not going to happen, right? It's most likely, there's not going to most likely be a confirmation. Beck Ma'am said, JVN supposedly threw shade in his IG stories and photo dumps. Jen R said, I wonder why they won't make it a statement. It's all interpretive forever, LOL. throws shade. Okay, gotcha. Back, ma'am. Yeah, I know that there's some folks that look at that one. I don't know what I think about that personally. I understand where people are coming from it. And if people are noticing patterns or noticing certain things, I can understand where people are coming from. I just don't. The thing to me, though, is like, I just don't think that everything revolves around Nicola in her friends' lives. That's the only thing. That sometimes when people make it, when I start to feel like people see everything that her friend groups do as connected to her, I'm like, her friend groups have their own lives, and like, Nicola's not in the center of it, nor is Nicola trying to be in the center of it. Back ma'am said agreed. Ronnie said period. Period. Exclamation marks. But I am interested still at what some of their friends might be saying. Like, explicitly sharing. Like, not like ones that would take interpretation to potentially mean something, but like just straight up like a literal statement that like, this is not... Like, if I guess what I'm saying is, are there any things from their friends that are directly addressing this situation where I don't have to read between the lines because the lines have been read? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need quotes that that would require me to interpret it a particular way. Like, either they're just saying, people, they are just friends. Stop it. That's the only thing that I'm really looking for. Because if people are like, their friends are kind of hinting that they're not together, like, that's another level of another work. Like, did they explicitly say they're not together? That's the only thing that I am looking for. Did their friends explicitly state, y'all are y'all are completely wrong, they're not together? Because what's the point of being like coy back? Like, if you're trying to address a rumor or trying to kibosh a narrative, you're not going to put hints. You're going to straight up say, like, y'all, this is inappropriate. They're just friends. Falker L said, N has got to know that people are watching at an event. She either doesn't care or is just friends. Ronnie said, yes, direct quotes, LOL. Michelle MAD said, I agree. I feel like people dig too hard for clues. Good morning, Tam. Michelle MAD said, Doug's comment is fairly loud, but it's not totally direct. Okay, what was it again? Did somebody tell me what I think somebody did, and I already forgot. What did Doug say again? Shallots for Life said, so many celebrities have been keeping relationships private, so hinting may be all we get. LOL. That's true. That is true. Also, I've been talking a lot about how, like, in previous lives, about how Gavin, you know, up and got married from the summer I turned pretty. And how, like, nobody knew, and then suddenly he had been dating her for like a year, and she would do kind of like what Antonia would do, right? Where it's like, she would show like hand, like, or some other body part, but never the face kind of situation. But his girlfriend, or his now wife, Gavin's wife, did show more aspects of, like, I think as far as Luke and Antonia, maybe the most we saw was his hand, in a photo somewhere, right? But like, then next thing we know, you know, they're married. But let me tell you, now people are claiming there's like drama in the summer I turned pretty, and I'm like, I'm sad. Like, excuse me, let me tell. What are y'all talking about? And now, I mean, mind you, they were making faces while Gavin was talking, but I'm like, what are they talking about? Because I will also tell you this, that Gavin's wife, like, straight up reminds me. Now, I think Lola is like, is that her name? Is stunning. So but there are a little bit of similarities visually between the two of them, his wife and Lola. Is that her name? I can't remember. But she's like, yeah. Anyways, that's a side comment I just thought about. H. Manley said, I thought Doug said a while ago they're just friends. Oh, is there a post? Can somebody please give me the receipts? Ronnie said nobody said. DD4678532 said there's nothing direct. People are distorting things to fit their narrative. Isa B said no, and I don't think they ever will. Karen said Jack Rook said at Chappell Roan concert that out with friends with Nick in pick. I mean, well, I mean that just means that Jack is out with his friends. That doesn't tell me anything about what the relationships are between Nick and Jake. Like, if Nicola said out with friends, then that would mean that everybody in the picture is with her as friends. You know what I mean? But Jack saying out with friends, all of those people are Jack's friends. So that makes sense for Jack to say. But I can't then say that that means that nobody has a relationship with each other just because Jack said they're out with friends. You know what I'm saying? LSF0804 said, I don't have a narrative and I'm open to reality. Just said that it was confusing what is posted. LSF0804, so you are still in the space. What are people posting? That's the thing I want to know. Because I genuinely 100% don't know. I want to know. KM Shoppy said 100%. Popsy XX, no, for real. Me and my friends saw the pics and thought Gavin and Lola got married. I mean, there's definitely like, I'm like, and here's the thing. I know people are saying, oh my word, y'all. Oh my word. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had a moment. There was a question asked about relationships and like, what would you tell the other person about like what would you tell your character or something about relationships? Y'all, I wish I could find the clip again. But Gavin says something and then Lola says something. Lola said something to the effect of like, I would tell her like to communicate, because sometimes you think you're on the same page with someone and then it turns out you're not. And you've convinced yourself something was something when it wasn't. And then I think it's advice I would give myself. I don't know. Here's the thing that throws me off about this whole Gavin thing is I felt like Gavin and Lola did have a lot of chemistry in their interviews in previous seasons. It's only this round that feels like there's tension. And I'm like, was there something? Like, did they think that there was something going on between them? And then it turned out like, I don't know. Now I'm just making my own stories up. But if I could just find like that clip, what Gavin said I thought was interesting, and what Lola said I thought was interesting, that I was like, is there a reason? I don't know, y'all. I'm making my own fiction in my brain because I don't know. It was very interesting. H. Manley said, didn't Nick say she likes to keep her romantic life private? LSF0804 said, I sent like 3 comments, just a sec. Oh, I cannot believe it. LSF0804, I think TikTok probably blocked those. I hate it when it does that. You're probably like sending all these comments and I'm not reading it, and I'm like, and you think I'm probably like ignoring it. I was not. It was, sometimes TikTok for reason chooses not to share certain people's comments, and I don't know why. Maybe TikTok, it's because TikTok knows that I just really want to know what your comments are, and then it blocked it. Michelle MAD said, I sent it above. Oh gosh. The out with friends one? Is that what you're talking about? Michelle, was that you that sent that one? Because to me, out with friends really genuinely means, oh wait, no, that was Jack. What was the one with, oh my word, why do I have the worst memory? Ronnie said, I think majority of folks aren't seeing the images firsthand. They're seeing interpretations. Good point, Ronnie. Probably. Jen R said, check Doug's current stories. You'll see it there. But again, it's totally interpretive. Okay. See, that's the thing, Jen R. If it's interpretive, I'm like, we're back to the same thing. It has to be a blatant, like, now at the same time, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of culture maps that talk about how different countries like communicate. And so there's like low context countries and high context countries. So low context countries are like the USA, where it's like they expect you to say what you mean what you say, just say it outright. Versus like Japan is a high context, where it's like they're communicating not with the words but with everything else. You have to read the full context to understand what's being said. And sometimes I'm like, I think people are struggle busing in because okay, Shouts for Life says Doug Story, excuse me girl, your boyfriend is fit. Is he gay by any chance? Oh, okay. So people are trying to say that has anything to do with that. Yeah. I don't know. And I'm just like, I didn't even want to necessarily, yeah. I don't know. Because the thing is, people don't know. People, again, speculating about his sexual orientation. People don't know. He's never said. And like I said, he could be bisexual. He could be pansexual. Like, people don't know. KMT0778 said, I think that Nick has reached a level of stardom that it would be difficult to be completely private. I agree. Julie said, Nick and Luke send us hints. It's real between them. KMT0778 said, keeping her relationship private could mean attending work-related events alone. Pop CXX said, and also like Chris and Lola and best friends are best friends, so it makes sense he would have known about anything and be mad at Gavin too. Tam said, TikTok has been tripping for a lot of people lately. Like, I don't understand what's happening, Tam. Okay. Oh, here's a message from LSF0804. It went through. After New York, Jack Rook posted a story about launching with a friend because he was holding hands, and several friends liked it. Okay. Okay, I understand where people were going with this. So I'm assuming that Jack posted this. Okay, because you said after New York, after those photos came out. I think I know which one you're talking about here. So I can understand where people are going with that. So I can hear that. I don't think it's a direct comment of anything, but I understand why people would think that. Michelle MAD said no, the Doug comment. Lynn says, it's wild to me that folks point to hidden hints that L and are together but refuse to admit J and R. I mean, I think, again, it's like, it comes down to like what people are willing to consider, right? If people are not willing to consider the possibility, like, it doesn't, until people are willing to consider something as a possibility, like, everything has to go through, everybody has filters, I guess, when it comes down to it. Everybody has filters about what they, and those filters determine what they will or will not choose to consider. LSF0804 said, after the HB event that Jack went to with Nick, Doug commented about Nick and Jack being a couple. After the HB event that Jack went, Jack or Jake went to with Nick, Doug commented about Nick and Jake being a couple. So then Doug did say they were a couple? Is that what you're saying? Or wait, Nick and Jack. Oh wait, no, Jack. So okay, so not Jack. Who's Jack? So you are talking about a Jack. Jack liked it and several friends liked and commented on it. Who's Jack? See, she has such a big friend group that I don't know all these people. Shoutouts for Life. Oh wait, no, I read that already. LSF0804. Almost every time after something comes out, Doug posts to combat the narrative. Michelle MAD said, I have no narrative either. To be clear, I came to the ship late. Nikki said, OMG, having so much fun with the conversation today. That's great, Nikki. I'm glad to hear that. Shouts for Life said they were all at that concert. LSF0804 says that yes, they are interpretive, but there is a pattern. I mean, and see, here's the thing too, LSF0804. This is what I'm talking about too for myself, right? About like why I tend to lean to believe that there is something going on between Nicola and Jake is because there is a pattern for them as well. Meaning they're always constantly together. And she's the only constant person that's with her on all of these events. Like her friend groups may be there some of the time, but like the friend group itself might be shifting and changing of who's there. But the one person that tends to be there every single time is him. And we've seen her with him alone. And so that's the pattern that I'm picking up. And yet, I understand what you're saying. You know, the interesting thing to me is how people view her friends putting stuff right after stuff comes out. Because I remember how, like, that was used against Antonia. Like, every time he posts, she posts, she posts. You know what I mean? And yet, it's interesting to see how people view it very differently with her friends. Like, so if Antonia decided to do a counter narrative to what people are saying, or adding extra narrative or extra context to stuff that was happening between her and Jake. Okay, Tam said Jack is her friend. He was with her at the Harper Bazaar event. Okay. Okay, so got it. So I understand that context a little bit more. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, what makes what Antonia did different than what her friends are doing? Aren't they all, like, putting extra context that nobody's asking for or nobody's providing? I don't know. Shouts for Life said people insisting N and J are together are the same as saying N and L are together. You could be wrong. 100%. 100% Shouts for Life. If anyone says we definitively know. And so for people, they're like, it's obvious. Like the ones that like are committed to saying like they know 100% what's going on, will be saying like the other people are just totally not looking at the obvious signs. But everybody feels like they have obvious signs that they're correct. Nobody actively ever chooses to believe something that they think is actually wrong. Every person believes that their perspective is correct. Nope. Now, mind you, do people sometimes commit still even after they may realize they're wrong? Yes. Because sometimes pride comes in, right? Because you don't, like, if you've committed for so long, then it feels bad. Shouts for Life said, I've always said, hold space for being wrong. Stop saying it's obvious. It's not. Yes. And yet, I hear that. And yet, most people, I would say, for them, it feels like this is how it has to be. Like, people think that each side, to some degree, thinks that other people are refusing to view or see certain perspectives or certain evidence for what it is. You know, so it's like, you know, it's hard. Ronnie said, Mr. Fantastic levels of reaching, stretching. Lynn said, it's so messed up to speculate to fit a narrative. Hi, Sylvia. A Lux Few Can of 4D said, but most importantly, hold space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. I don't, okay, can somebody tell me what that meant? I know that has to come from somewhere. And I don't know what it means, but I will say that I wish I did sit more when I watched the film after like that, because I think I did need to hold more space for it than I did. But I don't know where that comes from, that line. Was it from an interview? Lynn's, so the thing about, you know, the whole fitting to fit a narrative, the thing that's difficult is that people, we tend to do that naturally. Okay, Ronnie said it came from an interview. It is really hard because we tend to do that naturally. We have these things called filters. And those filters tend to tell us like what we are willing to get. That's why we have to combat our natural biases. Like this is true of everything in life. Michelle MAD said nothing is obvious about any of those relationships to me. 100% Michelle. Like people who don't recognize their own bias are probably far more dangerous than people who recognize they have bias, because we all have bias. we need to know what our bias is so that we can combat our biases, so that we can be aware of where our biases lie. When we don't, we really just take everything as face value, that we start to think that our way of viewing something is strictly objective, and it has nothing objective about it. And that gets dangerous, right? When we become like so hard and fast, like we are the ones pursuing truth. We're the ones that are right. We don't know. I mean, not to say that there isn't a way to know. I don't want to give that impression too. There is a way to know the truth. I'm just saying that we don't have access to it, because the people who have access to the truth about what it actually is happening are choosing not to tell us, and that's their right, because they have the right to hold that for themselves. I mean, we're just outsiders looking in, you know. Karen said, great Saturday morning discussion. Thanks, Karen. CRM8291 said, we are the closer, we don't care. We are the closer. We don't care or worry about outsiders, LOL. We are the closer? Okay, I'm really bad about typos. I don't even know if that's a typo. I don't know if I'm just reading it incorrectly. So I'm not sure what that's saying. CRM8291, BF equals boyfriend, by the way. The limited space again. Ag, LOL. Oh, okay, boyfriend. Okay. LWall20 said, I think it's just saying she gets shipped with everyone could mean something or be nothing. 4KNK said there are 0 pics of L and N, but many of N and J. Vera said the guy that went to one of the events with her. Tam said Jack is... Oh, wait, no, I read that already. Okay, I read that. Isabi said the friend she took to time 100. Leo's son said Jack Rook. I don't think so. Charles for Life says, why do I want to say, you can't handle the truth? Isabi said not time 100 Bazaar event. Ida Pita said, and what's with the emo Luke? Luke. I said Luke. Look, Phoebe. I don't know. I just like my hoodie up. Isabi said, I just hope he isn't using her for her contacts. Velcro L said, I love how innocently and blissfully unaware you are. It makes your convos so honest. Thanks, Velcro L. I mean, honestly, though, I don't like to, like, read. I mean, those things. I used to be in the know. And, like, now I don't know. Like, now y'all are telling me what's happening. Because I have no idea half the time these days. I mean... When I just hope he isn't using her for her I don't think he is. I mean, it's kind of like the same way. Here's the thing that now, you know, it's so hard, right? When you're in a relationship with somebody, like, will he get contacts because of her? Most likely. But I don't think he would be using her for that. I think that, like, it's just a natural thing, you know, where, because, I mean, I guess because using someone would give the impression that they didn't care about her. I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's a real care about the two of them. And I just feel bad whenever, like, anyone... It's hard to be in a relationship with someone who's famous, because people will always be questioning your motivation if you're not equally famous as the person. LSF0804 said, I have no clue what the truth is. Just so confusing with what we see and what is posted. That is it. 100% LSF0804. I hear you. It can be very confusing. And I mean, if it was very clear, we would not be even having this conversation. The conversation would end, like, very quickly. To some degree, I think people appreciate the lack of, maybe they don't appreciate it, but I think there's a part of it that is more fun for people to not have a concrete answer, because if there was a concrete answer, like, we would not still be talking about stuff like this. And I think some part of it is just the journey of it all. As long as people stay kind, I think that the reason it goes off the rails is people get mean. Like, why do we gotta get mean? We could have, like, puzzle pieces and hints and have fun with that without getting mean. But people really get mean. Like, if you don't commit to their particular way of seeing things, like, people get mean, and I don't understand why. Ronnie said, yep, the point is to hold space to be wrong. Yeah. L Wall 20 said, because her posting she was there when she wasn't would be crazy work. Haha. Because her posting she was there when she wasn't would be crazy work. I'm not sure. L Wall 20, sorry, I'm so behind reading the comments. I'm not sure what that comment was in reference to anymore. Lynn says that's quite literally what proof is. Michelle MAD said nothing is obvious about. Oh wait, I read that already. Lynn says, I was talking about speculating on his sexuality being used to fit a narrative. Oh, gotcha, Lynn. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, in all honesty, we don't know. I mean, technically, we don't know about anybody. I mean, like, no. It's kind of like, what is it? What's his name? Khalid? Khalid? I don't know how to say his name. But, like, isn't he a musician or something? And Lynn said, I'd love to see L and N together, but not accepting that they have different partners is unhealthy, in my opinion. Lynn's, I mean, I agree. Now, the thing is, if people genuinely just don't believe they're in relationships with other people, because here's the hard part, Lynn, is like, we don't definitively know, but I think most of us that feel like we're in the place where we're like, we think they're in relationships and we're fine with it because that doesn't change what could be the case in the future. The reality is, like, nobody has said, you know, one way or the other. That's the hard part. Monica 11851 said, we don't know these people personally. We just don't. 100%. So that's the hard part about it, Lynn's, is like to me, it's fine if they don't recognize it, I suppose, as long as they can make space for folks that are recognizing it exists, for like that we think it exists. But but if folks really genuinely think that it doesn't exist, and it's not because they're trying to fit it into a narrative, it's just they don't feel like the evidence for them, at least for themselves, doesn't like convince them that it exists. Like, I don't want to say like it's only a narrative thing. So I think, because here's the thing that can get squirrely, right? When I say that sometimes people try to fit things into a narrative, like, there are people that try to fit it into a narrative, but like, there are folks that are genuinely saying, I've seen what you're telling me and I just still don't agree. I don't think that's enough evidence, or I don't agree with it. So it still comes from a different place. I don't know. Chalice for Life said, basically believe what you want, respect others, and hopefully we all find out. Yeah, it's so hard because nobody's a monolith. Even within each fan, like, people who believe that Nicola and Jake are together, and people who believe that Nick and Luke are together, or believe that neither of them are dating anybody. Like, there's like all different pockets. Yeah. Dr. Shaz says people need to stop shaming by calling people unhealthy if they happen to disagree. Yeah. So that's what yes, Dr. Shaz. That's, I think, what I'm trying to say. Like, there are people that genuinely are like, they don't see it the same way. You know, there are people that are so committed to a narrative that they're not willing to consider anything else. But there are people who are like, literally, like, they're just trying to figure it out. Like LSF, I think, 0804, I think, if I can remember the username properly, right? It's like, they're just trying to make out, like, here's the post, here's this, and it's very confusing, right? So there are folks that are just genuinely confused. Not because they're trying to push anything, it's just it's just confusing. Paul said, hello, when N posts J is in it, when L posts A is not. Oh! Well, actually, well, yeah, well, I'm trying to think, because Nicola, the only time I've ever seen Nicola post Jake is this repost. I've never seen it before. However, she has allowed photos with them together, I suppose, like with the friend group and whatnot. So, but you're right. Well, though, Luke did allow that one group photo for GQ, I think. Paul said, do you think that Elle and N will eventually be together? Me personally, I'm an Endgame Lucala shipper. So I always believe that if they want to be together, they can be together in the future. However, I also am a person that likes to leave space, because they are real human beings and not a character in a book, to go there. They can grow and change, where they might want different things and they may not. It doesn't change the fact that I think that their chemistry was insane. It doesn't change the fact that what we saw on the world tour is what we saw. I don't think it was a manipulation. I don't think it was just PR. I don't think any of those things. I think those things were very real. But just because something was real or is there, does not mean that it has to mean this. Now, but I think they can and will eventually be together, hopefully. But I say that now, for right now, but I don't know how they'll grow and change as people. Where I'm like, do I still push for this, and yet now they're so different that to push them back together is just because I was so committed to an idea. I don't want to do that. At the end of the day, I just want them happy. I think they can be happy with each other. I think there's a lot of things that they both care about and like. There's so many things that they both care about and like, that I feel like they both want a quiet life at the end of when everything is said and done. And I think they could enjoy a quiet life together. You know what I mean? Monica 11851 said, we would always find something to talk about. The speculation is always there. Laura said, but we don't know for sure. Nobody has confirmed anything. 100%. We don't know anything. Yeah. LSF0804 said, have an opinion, but do not speak like it is fact, and be respectful. 100% LSF. That's all we can really do. Like, I think we all have an opinion. For me, I do tend to believe that there is something going on with Luke, with Nicola and Jake. But I can understand why people are feeling like, no, I don't think so, that this is just a friend situation. I'm more than happy to be wrong about this one. More than happy. It's just, for me, the evidence tends to lean that way, simply because of how consistent he happens to be around. No matter if the friend group itself is shifting and changing. Oh my word, I'm so over the time. Because I'm supposed to go to an appointment, so I really have to have a hard stop at like 6 minutes. Kristen said, if she was in a relationship with Jake, then why block people on Insta spinning that narrative? Kristen, I don't know of that. Like, who does she block? Because I genuinely don't know. Like, I don't follow that kind of stuff. Like, who does she block that was spinning that narrative? Nikki said, I think we see the possibilities with N and L, and it would be great. Yeah. I mean, I think we saw what we saw. You know. Monica 11851 said, it's unhealthy when it leads to unhinged behavior. That I agree with. I think when it comes down to is just, how can we have respectful discourse with each other when people feel so differently about a situation? And I think it's very possible. And yet, sometimes people just attack each other, you know, for like thinking what they're thinking. But people are just trying to be authentic to their own thoughts. That's what people are trying to do. They're trying to be authentic to their own thoughts. So how can we leave space for people who are being authentic? Now, if people have dubious intent, that's different, right? To me, that's different. If somebody's doesn't actually think what they're thinking, but like are pushing it because for one reason or another there's dubious intention, then I'll side eye that. But I'm never going to side eye people that are coming from a very sincere place, just going, I'm looking at the same evidence as you, but I'm interpreting it very differently. And I just don't see I see these other possibilities of what these moments can mean. I don't think that your interpretation is the only interpretation that is possible. And we won't actually know unless somebody officially confirms one thing or another. And I don't think it's just people wanting to be in denial or whatever it might be. Which I think sometimes people like to think that that's the only possible reason why people might be like, no, I really don't agree with what people are saying. Lynn says delusions are unhealthy, and I'll never not say that's healthy. I mean, I agree. I mean, in the sense, well, delusions are unhealthy, and I'll never not say that's unhealthy. I mean, that's healthy. I never not say that's delusions. Delusions of grandeur, delusions. I mean, I think I know what you're saying here, Linz. I'm going to sit with it a little bit because I don't want to misspeak. Because I think what you might deem as delusions, I don't know if... so I'm going to have to sit with that a little bit because I know what you're saying. I'm fairly sure I know what you're saying. I think it's more of a matter of like, if I'm just gonna sit on that one for a little bit and think about it a little bit. Monica 11851 said, I think that's what they meant. Lynn says confusion is one thing. Okay. You said more here. Okay, confusion is one thing. Delusion and refusal to accept is another. Okay. I guess my question, Linz, though, is like, what is the refusal to accept? Because even though I tend to lean to believe that Nicola and Jake are together, I tend to believe that, right? Because of what I tend to look at. The reality is nobody has said officially one way or the other. Now, if Nicola said that she is with Jake, and again, most likely this will never happen. They'll probably, the way that this is going, there's never gonna be like an official word, right? If Nicola said that and people were like, no, I think you're secretly dating Luke and you're lying and you're just using Jake as a cover, even though she outright said I'm dating him, if she ever did that, then there would be a delusion and refusal to accept. Right now, I think people tend to have confusion because there is nothing to refuse to accept. Like, to me it feels, and let me accentuate the word feels, not that it is, but feels to me it feels like it's obvious that they're together because of how much, but I know it doesn't feel that way to other people at all. And yet, at the same time, like, neither of us have confirmation officially one way or another. And just because people take photos up with the paparazzi and we see certain things doesn't mean that we know what those stories were there. There could be other reasoning for whatever it might be. I just tend to go, if I feel like I need to have potentially a billion other reasons as why things are happening the way they're happening, then maybe I don't know. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, Linz, though. It's just I understand why people but you're saying confusion is one thing. I do think that there might be folks that will be unwilling no matter what, and I do think that is when it gets I don't know if unhealthy is the right word, but like it gets concerning to me when people are like, it cannot be anything else. Because if it cannot be anything else, then people get really mean with other people. Like when they are like, there can be no other explanations for this. They get really mean with other people, Dr. Shad said, like Ronnie said, hold space to disagree. It's okay to disagree and stop trying to convince. Becky Furrow said, that's me. I'm just genuinely confused. LSF0804 said, yes, no narrative here. Don't have anyone in my life to discuss this stuff with. Haha. Now, I feel you. Thanks for the safe space. Yeah, no problem, LSF. Stella said, the only thing that is certain is that L and N are not together. I mean, to me, I feel like that is certain as well. I know that there are folks that disagree that's probably in the space. So, I mean, the reality is, like, we, like, so that, I mean, literally people in the space have multiple, like, perspectives on this. There's people that believe that Nicolas with Jake. There's people that believe that Luke is with Antonia. There's people that believe that Luke and Nicola are together. There are people that believe that nobody's with anybody. Well, actually, I don't know if anybody believes that. Maybe there's somebody in this space that believes that they're not with anybody, which is a possibility. So I'm just saying there's many people with many perspectives in the space. I'm just asking us to coexist, you know? It's like, how can we coexist? And the only way we can really coexist is to, like, oh, Ronnie said me. Oh, so you don't think they're with anybody? So, you know, I think figuring out how to coexist with each other and have those conversations, even though, like, I don't know. So I get it. Lynn says, I can judge what a delusion is based on the evidence that exists. I mean, I think for me, Linz, it's more so if a person refuses to consider a different alternative. That's when I get concerned. I don't need the person to say they agree with me. I think it just becomes an issue when I think a person's not willing to consider the possibility that it could be, like, even if they don't end up thinking the evidence is enough to not even consider that it's a possibility. Like, a person can say that is a possibility. I don't agree. It's what is happening. But I can understand that that's a possibility. Like, I feel more comfortable when a person can do that. But when a person says there's no way at all to see things this way, that's I mean, it starts to show up, like, in every perspective. Everybody gets so, like, I'm the only person that can see things correctly. Well, I mean, not that people say that, but, like, when people get to that place where they're like, I'm the one, I'm seeing this, you know, correctly, and you're not. I still go back to the fact that I don't think that people ever actively believe something is true. Is people don't actively believe something that they think is wrong. You know what I mean? Not to say that people aren't wrong believing something that is wrong. But I'm saying, like, one of my favorite sayings is every emotion is valid. It's just the information that informs it's just the information that informs the emotion that may be incorrect. And so I think sometimes that's what happens. Like, the information that's informing the emotion may be incorrect. But, like, where that person is coming from is still coming from typically a very sincere place, unless they have some dubious intent. Laura said nothing is certain. Michelle MAD said not that they owe anything, but they could end the speculation. Yeah. I mean, Michelle, I mean, definitely. They don't owe us anything, and yet, yes, they could end the speculation just like that. Lynn said, you don't need a mental health specialty to determine what a delusion is. It's quite literally a belief you hold despite evidence to the contrary. I probably shouldn't generalize that everyone that has this delusion is unhealthy. That's true. Isabella Marie said, good morning. Y'all, there's 57 new messages, and I really want to read all of them. I'm trying to think, like, I'm supposed to be at this appointment by 9 o'clock. I feel like I need to leave no later than 8:40, and it's 8:25 right now. So let me see if I can just read through and stop my commentary and just read through these comments. Let me see if I can actually do it. Nikki said, I like seeing others' thoughts because sometimes I don't see it. Roxy said, I don't think people are looking at the same evidence, and that's the reason for mixed opinions. Good point, Roxy. I think sometimes that's the case too. Like, there are, and what's hard too is sometimes people are, I think Ronnie said this, that sometimes people don't see the original image or don't see the original video or don't see the original, like without, usually they already see it within the context of someone's opinion already. It's very hard to know what your opinion is of something, like what your like knee-jerk reaction to something is, if the first time you're viewing it is through someone else's lens or filter of how they're viewing the thing that you're now viewing. So sometimes people are looking at the same evidence, but because they're seeing it from a different person's perspective, where one person's perspective might be that she's with Jake, another person's perspective might be she's with Luke, or something like that, that people can present that evidence through their own filters, and depending on which one people see first, that might affect how people interpret that piece of information. Monica 11851 said, I'm open to seeing another view. Ronnie said, it's all intention. A lot of people are well-meaning, but there is a dangerous part of humanity that, and cuts off. Lynn says, despite the evidence to the contrary, the delusion, in my opinion, is that Luke and Nicola are currently together. Shouts for Life says, you can literally believe what you want and choose not to hear others' opinions if it's too much for you. Oh, that's another good point, Shouts for Life. Is that there's sometimes, you know, there's reasons why people might be like, I don't, you know, people might say like, I can't, like maybe sometimes even this kind of space that makes space for as many perspectives as possible might be hard to handle for some folks, and they're like, I can't be in this space. I always say to folks, like, do what's right for you. Dr. Shaz says, truth is an unstable construct based on what we know at the time. Many times we learn things later. Oh, okay. And then, okay, so let me reread, Ronnie. I found the other half of your comment. It's all intention. A lot of people are well-meaning, but there is a dangerous part of humanity that can take well-meaning data and use with malintent. Yeah, Dr. Chaz says, we used to think we had 9 planets in the solar system, and now it's 8. I thought they put back Pluto. Was it Pluto? What did they take away again? I forgot which planet they took away. I felt like they brought it back. I don't know. Dr. Shaz said, Carrie Fisher denied an affair with Harrison Ford for 40 years, then outed their affair. Oh. Tea? Like, old tea, but I did not know this, Dr. Shaz. Jane said, I'm not shipping anymore. It may happen in the future, and I support that, but not right now. Ronnie said, concerning, yes. Nikki said, as they say, enjoy the ride. Carrie Ann said, do you think Luke and Antonia are together? Personally, I genuinely don't know. Maybe. I mean, people say that he still likes her stuff. But I just genuinely don't know. I mean, because whereas I tend to believe that Nicola and Jake are together simply because there's so many photo evidence of like them being around each other a lot, which again could just be friends, because I was friends with Chad and we were always together. Like, if we took photos of being with each other all the time, like, people would probably think we were together. But I don't think I see that with Luke and Antonia. Now again, maybe it's because he's more private, he doesn't want to put anything out there, or he's just really good at stealth mode. I don't know. Dr. Shaz says, people used to assume I was partnered with my BFF because we did everything together, and we never were. I'm just saying people can think anything. We don't know anything definitively. I agree. Lynn says, and evolve. Jane says, I don't know if anyone is dating anyone, but I can see that Luke is very, very possibly dating Antonia. The Greenberg Brigade said, based on available evidence, I believe Antonia and Luke are together, and Nicola and Jake are together right now. Buddy said, you need to be open-minded about who they are with. Monica 11851 said, go do what you need to do, Phoebe. Thanks, Monica. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hard stop. Well, it's 8:30 right now. I'm really pushing it. I'm almost close. The Greenberg Brigade said, but I'm not invested in their personal relationships anymore. I just want them to be happy. Agree there, Greenberg Brigade. Jane said, if they're happy, I honestly don't care. I love them both. Samesies there. Jen R said, unless something comes from their mouth verbatim of confirming a relationship, then anything is a possible answer. Isabella Maurice, I mean, one of the things I used to say is, all things are possible, more things are probable. Isabella Marie said, this is very interesting conversation. If you have to go to, can you do another live soon? Possibly. You know, I haven't done a live in such a long, well, I like this kind of live for such a long time. So possibly. K-Girl said Pluto. Jen R said it's definitely a ride, LOL. Dr. Shaz says, I appreciate having the safe space to discuss. Fans don't need to attack each other. 100%, Dr. Shaz. I agree. And I mean, the reality is, like, we were one big family at one point. We really were. Everybody was like, you know, kumbaya, you know? And I'm so sad it became something else, but we can coexist. I really believe that. Moore said they have no obligation to confirm anything to the fans. Evidence is out. Jane said, I mean, Luke and Nick told us to ship away, so if you want to ship, go ahead. I don't see it as bad. Paul said, I think it was just a groupie and nothing serious will turn of it. Joanne said, peace is needed in the fandom. I agree. Anyways, y'all, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for spending time with me this morning. I hope you have a great Saturday. Shouts for Life said, biggest thing is be respectful to other fans, actors, etc. Yeah, that's all we really can hope for. Ronnie said coexistence. Yeah. Michelle.T49 said, maybe no one is dating no one. And I mean, that is another possibility. I mean, really. Maybe nobody's dating anybody. Monica11851 said, have a great day. Jen R said, thank you, Phoebe. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.